Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to try something different. This is something that I have seen on other channels before. Unfortunately right now I don't recall on which channel it was originally, but if I do remember until I upload this, I will put a link down below. But what I want to do today is check in with my favorite books of 5 years ago in 2017. And see whether I still like or even remember these books. So this is kind of like a ranking video, but I'm not doing it in the like ranking kind of style because I'm lazy right now. But I hope that this will be the first part of a 2-video mini-series this year. Because in this one I want to look at the list and tell you how I feel about these books. And then I want to do a vlog where I read the books that I don't remember. And I'm a bit scared because 2017 has been a while ago. Now, for some context, I think I started watching booktube around 2014 or 2015, in that kind of range. And so in 2017, I was still kind of figuring out my taste with books. It was also the year when the Mothbox still existed, which was a book subscription by Mercy. I will link her channel down below as well. She did it for, I think, maybe around a year or something like that, and I really enjoyed it, but I still have some of those books on my TBR, which is shameful. So this Mothbox, I think, was sent every other month and had 2 books in it, and they were usually a little bit out of my like usual comfort zone, but I enjoyed some of them very much. So that's maybe a little bit of context. It was also the year where I really started listening to audiobooks, which now is one of the major sources of my reading because I just got so much more busy over time. It was the year where I was commuting a lot because I worked in a different city than I lived, so I would always go home for the weekend. And so, yeah, it was a very, very different time and a very different me. So keep that in mind when we talk about these books now. Maybe one more thing I want to add is that I have a video where I talked about all of the books that I read in that year. It was one of the first years where I read over 80 books. I think it might have been the first year where I read over 80 books, which is now where I average at around. So if you're interested in that, I will leave it linked down below as well, but it is painful, believe me. So yeah, let's just do this. Let's take a look at these books, okay? So the way I do my top 10 lists is a bit weird because sometimes I don't read enough 5-star books for it to be top 10. And so I would fill it up with 4.5-star books or maybe 4-star books as well, which happened here with some of them. So yeah, I have my Goodreads page right here, so I don't always know exactly what star rating I gave them, but only 2 of these books were actual 5 stars, so I will keep those for last and start with the other ones that were like high 4 or 4.5 stars. Now, the first book I see right here is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Now, I would not consider this one of my favorite books or one of my favorite series overall. I also did not give it 5 stars. I think I gave it 4.5, but I still remember that series quite fondly, and it was one of the first series that I marathon listened to through audiobook format. So that's something that just stuck in my mind a lot. I do remember more the feelings than the plot. I have to admit that. I know that we follow this like group of teenagers, 4 boys and a girl, and there are some things that really stick out in my mind about it, but there's also some things that are quite hazy. And what I always find kind of confusing is that some of the scenes of the second book stuck in my mind the most, even though it was my least favorite one. So that's weird as well. So this is a series that I think I will reread at some point because we have now a trilogy that follows some of the characters. that is set after the Raven cycle, and so I feel like I would like to reread the Raven cycle and then maybe get to that other trilogy in the future. But for now, no like firm plans to do that. But as I said, not a favorite book, but definitely a book that I still like and I would reread. The next book on this list is Six of Crows by Liber Dugo. Now this is the first like real audiobook I listened to ever. And I was so excited to finally get to it. I did not like the previous trilogy. Like I do not like the original, what's it even called? Like the Krisha trilogy by Liber Dugo. I just don't. But with Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which is on this list as well, funnily enough, I fell in love with this world for real, and I'm so thankful for that. I still wouldn't say that these books are favorites of all time, but the third duology, or the third like mini-series in this big world, the Nikolai duology, those are some of my favorite books of all time. So even though I wouldn't say Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom are quite up there, they're still part of like my favorite overall series, or one of my favorite overall series, and so I really think of it quite fondly. I'm so incredibly excited for the next season of Shadow and Bone, because we also get the characters from Six of Crows in there. So I would say not my absolute favorite, but definitely very high up, and also a little bit higher than the Raven cycle. If I rank Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, I did like Six of Crows more, even though Crooked Kingdom is evil. The ending was so evil, and I love how that was continued in the Nikolai duology. So yeah, I think Six of Crows is a little bit higher for me personally. Okay, then a book number 4 I want to talk about is the first one that I actually do not remember, and that's Death du Jour by Katie Rikes. This is the second book in the Temperance Brennan series, so this is the book series that the TV show Bones was based on. Now, I love Bones. I've watched a lot of it, not all of it, because for some reason I never got around watching the last season, and by now I haven't watched it in so many years that I just don't think I will ever finish it. But I decided to start the books. Now, I remember that I wasn't the biggest fan of the first book because it just had all of the tropes that we kind of know today of these kinds of thrillers or like crime stories. But I remember that I really loved the second book because I felt like it got out of that tropey kind of mess and started being its own thing, where all of these like things that we love about Bones, like the scientific elements, are just in place so much more. And so I remember that the second book is really what turned this series around for me, but I don't remember anything about it. When I saw it on the list, I thought about the plot of the third book, but I do not remember the plot of the second book. So, is this still a favorite book? I don't know. I mean, I do like this series, but this is definitely one of the books that I would have to reread. I think that this is also the book where we got some romancy plotline, and that's what I enjoyed about it. But again, not quite sure here. So this might be a book that I would have to reread this year. So moving along, we have a classic, and that is Fahrenheit 451 by Red Bradbury. Now, again, this was a book that I listened to on audio, and it was at the time where I just was trying to get into it, and I know that I really loved this book. I had a great time listening to it, but I honestly do not remember a lot about it. I do remember a couple of things, like the world building aspects and some of the plot during the end. But still, this is also one that I would love to reread. It is also quite a short book, I think, so this might be on the list as well. I would not say that this is one of like my favorite books or even my favorite classics per se, but it's definitely my favorite dystopian that I have read. Because I don't like the dystopian classics. So something like 1984 or The Handmaid's Tale, or the one that I really hated, Brave New World. I just don't like these because I think with like dystopian classics, they always have the problems that the times had and they project it into a future. And I just feel like I can't vibe with that because I'm like, you were so stuck in your time that you had no idea what the future would be like. But with Fahrenheit 451, I did not have that issue so much. So this is one that I would like to reread as well. Then we have another book that I do not remember well. Oh, and that actually pains me because I know that I really loved it, and I just don't remember anything about that. And that is Little Nothing by Marissa Silver. What can I say about this book? I think this book was about a mother-daughter relationship. That was kind of weird, hella weird. So this is literary fiction, I think, maybe with a historical touch. But yeah, I don't really remember. So again, I can't really say that this is like one of my favorite books. I didn't even give it 5 stars back in the day. But it is a book that I remember loving, which is weird when you do not remember the plot at all. So I really want to reread this one. I still have it on my shelves and I look at it quite a lot because I also really like the cover that I have. So yeah, this is one I need to reread because I do not remember. Oh. Then we get to one that I actually do remember, and that is Rover Random by J.R.R. Tolkien. Again, this was not a 5-star read for me, but I love Tolkien, and so I did really enjoy this book. This is just one of those like really small little books. It has a story that Tolkien wrote because one of his sons lost his toy dog on a beach. And so Tolkien imagined this story of what the dog would be up to now, like how he would live his life. And it's like very fantastical, very fun. And I just love that backstory so much because I think that Tolkien used storytelling kind of as a love language as well, and it's so great. So yeah, I did like this. I think it is really fun if you do enjoy Tolkien and if you're interested in his like person as well, not only like Middle Earth. So yeah, I did like this. Not one of my like all-time favorite books, but just something that I think is so sweet, and yeah, I really liked it. And then for the last book that I did not give 5 stars to, is another one I don't remember. And that is Ramona Blue. This is also a book I listened to on audio, and I remember when I listened to it because it was when I was in Lisbon for work for a week, and I remember listening to it on the plane, and after I got back I stayed with a friend for a night and stuff like that. So I do vividly remember that, but I did not remember the plot at all. Now this is one that I actually looked up yesterday preparing for this video because my mind was so blank, and I remembered that this book had a bit of controversy because it is about a character that identifies as gay or as lesbian. So she is interested in girls but then falls for a boy. And I remember that at the time it was discussed as like this book that is about like how being gay or being a lesbian is just a phase when you're a teenager and stuff like that. But that's not really what this was. And as I said, I do remember liking it, but I don't really know why. So again, this book goes onto my reread list for this year, and I'll probably keep that for the summer because just the cover gives me some vibes, and I know that it also had something to do with swimming because I looked it up yesterday, not because I remembered. So I'm pretty sure that this is not one of my favorite books of all time. And I'm really intrigued to see how I even like it today, because I have moved away quite a bit from like these YA contemporaries. And so that leaves us with my 2 5-star reads. And luckily for me, I remember both of them. And I love both of them. So that shows that my rating system still works, kind of. So the first one was The Sea of Tranquility by Katja Millet. This is a kind of dark YA romance about a character that doesn't speak because of something that happened to her. And that's one of my favorite tropes. I'm sorry, I know it's a weird one, but I do love this one quite a lot. One of my all-time favorite books does that as well. It's All the Truth That's in Me. Is that how it's called? Oh, I'm so bad with titles, but whatever. The Sea of Tranquility combines this trope with a romance, and I really enjoyed the romance as well, because it is between two kind of like misfits person, and yeah, I did really like this one. I wouldn't say it's a favorite book of all time, but it's definitely one that stayed in my feelings and that I still think about. And then my best book of that year actually was A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini, and I still absolutely love this book. I don't remember really a lot about this. This is set in Afghanistan and it follows a woman and her life's journey. And what I especially liked about this one is that it also focuses on her relationship with another woman and with her father as well, and you know, daddy issues I can relate to. So yeah, I really love this book. It's my favorite Khaled Hosseini book. It's also one that I would love to reread, so I should probably get my own copy at some point, because back then I read it from the library. But yeah, this is one of those books where even though I might not remember the whole plot, I can very confidently say that it's one of my all-time favorite books, and I think everyone should read it. So at least I had one of those in the bunch in 2017. I would love to hear what was your favorite book 5 years ago, and do you still like it? That is something I would love to know. And that's also why I really just like this kind of like blogging and, you know, Goodreads tracking and whatever of books, because you can look back and kind of be like, what kind of person was I in 2017 when I look at these books? So yeah, you can see my brain is not the best, but usually I remember how I felt reading a book, and that is something that I value a lot too. So for my plan to reread the books I do not remember from this list, we have 4. We have Death du Jour by Temperance Brennan, the second book in the series. We have Fahrenheit 451 by Red Bradbury. We have Little Nothing by Marisa Silver, and we have Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. So these 4 books might get reread this year. We'll see about that. If you ever see the second part of this like little video experiment, you'll know. Yeah, let me know if you think this is an interesting idea, and yeah, leave a like or nice comment. I always appreciate those, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!